Mayor Nigg.
Aye.
Motion carries all ayes.
Okay. Do we have any comments on the consent calendar? Okay. Well,
Hey, Dustin, it's hard to hear you, by the way, Dustin. I don't know if we can push the mic, we can turn you up.
How about now?
Much better.
Okay. I'll use my big boy voice. Okay. Let's see. Do we have any questions on the consent calendar? And at this time for the... Oh, I need to approve this. I need to ask for some approval, right, first. Do I have a motion to approve the consent calendar?
I'll move the consent calendar except for item 1.6.
Okay.
Second.
Oh, you know what? I'm sorry. I went out of turn. I need to ask if there are any comments on the consent calendar items except for item 1.6. And at this time, for the public, please, if you're on the phone, hit *9 to raise your hand virtually if you'd like to make comments, or hit the raise hand participant button if you're on the web app or Zoom application. And this is for all items on the consent calendar that are not item 1.6.
No comments.
Okay. Now, Ben, if you could redo that motion.
Well, I've already made the motion. The motion still stands.
Okay. And then was there a second?
Didn't change it. Yep, Marcia seconded.
Okay, thank you. And can we get a roll call vote?
Councilmember Benoit.
Aye.
Councilmember Morabito.
Aye.
Councilmember Swanson.
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Moore.
Oh,
Oh, we unmute Bridget.
she's muted.
Here
Aye,
we go.
sorry.
Okay.
Aye.
Mayor Nigg.
Aye.
Motion carries all ayes.
Okay. Now we will have the discussion on item 1.6, and we don't need a staff report there. Are there any public comments on item 1.6? And again, if you want to raise your hand and speak, it's if you're calling in, *9. If you're on the web application, hit the raise hand button, and if on the smartphone as well.
First speaker is Daphne Mesa.
I think I know this person, Daphne Mesa.
That's me.
Okay.
Hi, it's Daphne Mesa.
Hello.
I just wanted to read a quick statement in support of dispensaries opening in Wildemar.
Okay.
Until about 2013 to 2014, I was adamantly against marijuana. And around that time, my father was diagnosed with cancer. He had not been able to hold down food in days and was becoming sick and weak. It was the first time I had ever seen my father and thought he is going to die. I was lucky enough to have a friend with a medical marijuana card. At the time, it was still not recreationally legal. So I asked my friend to get me some edibles for my father. It did feel very weird, but after my father called me the next day to tell me not only was he able to finally eat, but he was also had his first full night of sleep in months, I knew I could no longer hold my opposition to marijuana. I am not a user of it myself, but I understand how it can help somebody's quality of life greatly improve when they have an illness or injury. He has since passed, but there are so many people battling cancer, anxiety, insomnia, and other illnesses and injuries that do need access to marijuana. There are people who can't afford to get medical insurance and get the prescriptions that they may need. If we can allow liquor stores and smoke shops in our area, we should be able to allow dispensaries that can provide quality of life to so many of our citizens. I urge the city to vote in favor of allowing dispensaries in our neighborhood. That's it.
Thank you, Daphne. I'm going to remind the public, because I didn't make this obvious the first time, I'm going to do my best. So I'm human, so I may miss this, but when you're speaking and you get to the 1 minute mark of time remaining, I will do my best to raise my hand, okay? Now, if I'm caught up and I forget, I apologize, but I will do my best to, provide that indicator for you. Okay, Any?
Next speaker is Gina Costigan.
Hi, Gina, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay.
Yeah, good evening again. I'm speaking tonight just again, of course, in support of the ordinance, and again to commend the ad hoc committee and staff for the due diligence and the thoughtfulness of a well-honed ordinance. It is the 21st century, and like the first speaker said, besides it is a medicine for multiple illnesses, it's a choice. Again, the other positive reasons, we share a police force with Elsinore who has the same, businesses. We need continuity within our police department. This is akin to prohibition back in the day, and we need to stop that. Cannabis is an industry that we need to accept and work with like you have. So thank you again, and I encourage you to continue on this path of moving this ordinance forward. Thank you.
Thank you for the comments, Gina.
Next speaker is Andy Morris.
Hi, Andy, can you hear me?
Yes, thank you. I appreciate that.
No problem.
Just want to bring it to first of all, this is my personal views and not of any organization that I represent. I have to state that. Today I learned that a marijuana business owner has offered the owner of the barn 3 times the normal rent to lease space in the barn and uproot an existing business, a color parlor. I don't believe that that's something that we really thought about happening. And as a business owner myself in the same area, if somebody decided they wanted to just uproot me, I'd be pretty upset. And I don't think that that's right. I am not against cannabis business. I just do not believe that at this point in time, all the thought about how it will affect your current business during one of the worst COVID economic disasters we've ever seen, what we're going through right now in the retail market, I don't think that that's really been thought about and how this might affect us. And I would just say that based on that, as you make your final decision, I would recommend that the ordinance be adjusted to allow businesses to go in industrial and manufacturing only at this time. That's consistent with the ordinance of the other similar conservative cities like Elsinore. The Wildomar retail zone, also called the Miracle Mile, is very important to the residents and businesses that are here. Cannabis is, of course, legal in California, but new to our city. Amending the proposed ordinance to the industrial manufacturing zones, I believe, is a prudent thing to do right now. This gives our small city an opportunity to see how they perform, the burden or non-burden, and the revenue. If everything goes well over the next few years, you are more than able to amend the ordinance to include retail. Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you, Andy, for the comments.
Next speaker is Marty.
Hi, Marty, can you hear me?
I can hear you. I was going to give my time to Greg Langworthy, but I realized somebody else already did. Do you allow for 2 people?
No, unfortunately, no.
Okay. Well, good evening, Honorable Mayor and City Council members. My name is Marty Nicolson, and I represent the Wildomar residents organized as Neighbors United for a Safe and Healthy Community, which collectively opposes the cannabis ordinance. You have my letter regarding the provisions, or should I say the lack of provisions within the ordinance that make it deficient in significant areas, especially when it comes to law enforcement. So hopefully you have read it and you've seen other ordinances that are attached to that letter that more fully protects residents from crime and things that could happen. And more importantly, it prevents abdicating the city council's absolute right to make ordinances for the residents as opposed to allowing the state to do it for you. And lastly, I would like to say that tonight I went on the website looking to find click in on the meeting, could not find it. You have to be able to understand that you go to the agenda and there it is, but there's no direction on your website, which might be a reason why citizens are not participating as much as they could, especially during this COVID-19 pandemic. Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you, Marty.
Next speaker is Beth.
Hi, Beth, can you hear me?
Yes, can you hear me okay?
We can.
All right.
Please proceed. Your 3 minutes starts now.
Thank you very much. I am a resident of Wildemar for 8 years, and I originally moved into this town because it just was a perfect little town. And I just don't feel like this cannabis is for our town. I don't feel like it was the original vision of Wildemar. And I would ask you to reconsider your vote for our town. And thank you so much. I appreciate all your time, Skip.
Thank you very much.
Next speaker is Michael Goslin.
Hi, Michael, can you hear me? Michael?
Can you hear me now?
We can.
Okay.
How are you?
I am the pastor of Lakeview Chapel. I'm going on 17 years here. But I'm not here to talk to you as a minister. I'm going to talk to you as a long-term pot smoker back in the 70s. And I am against this ordinance because I was stoned out of my mind for 10 years. From about the age of 16 to 26, I was high every day. In high school, I was high when I worked for the U.S. Forest Service on a hotshot crew. When I worked for Capitol Records, pressing out vinyl records, I'd get high in the morning, I'd get high in the afternoon, I'd get high in the evening. I drove high. I was high longer than I was sober, and it robbed me of any desire to do anything else than get high. I know it's not physically addicting, but it is mentally addicting, and that's why I'm against it. There's been studies that say that it doesn't move on to harder drugs. That's a lie, because everybody I know that got high and started smoking pot moved on to higher drugs. As far as the black market, kids can't buy it at the dispensaries, and there will be someone there to sell it to the kids or to undercut the markets. And I didn't stop smoking because of our Lord Jesus. I stopped smoking because I met the woman that I love and been married for 38 years to her. I know that other cities are doing it. Let them do it. As my mom used to tell me, well, if everybody else jumped off a cliff, would you? And I know that we did a survey in Wildemar, and the majority of the people that took the survey said they didn't want it. So the question is, who do we represent when we are doing this? So I'm totally against it because of what I went through, being high all the time. And like I said, it's not, it gives you that sense of euphoria, but it robs you of everything else. And our young people don't need it. Our city doesn't need it. You can go to any other city around here and buy it because they not it. If you're doing it because of the revenue, there's better ways of raising money than being drug dealers. So I hope you would consider what I have to say, and I strongly oppose doing this. I appreciate the time to speak to you.
Thank you, Michael, for your comments.
Next speaker is Kenny Mays.
Hi, Kenny, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
All right, we can hear you.
Okay. I'm going to say I support this ordinance. It's about time that we do what a majority of the public voted for in 2016. And that's all I have to say on that subject.
Thank you for your
Thank
comments.
Next speaker is Lacey Rowe.
Hi, Lacey, can you hear me?
Yes, I hear you. Can you hear me?
We can. Go ahead.
Okay. Good evening. I'm Lacey. I am the owner of the Color Parlor Salon in Wildemar in the Barn Shopping Center. This salon has been here for about 6 years, and I have lived here my entire life. And I am now the owner of the salon about a year ago. So I have gone through the week I took over ownership. We went through a flood. We recovered from that. And then COVID happened. And now we're just being able to come back from that. And now, because of this ordinance, I have a landlord who wants to move me out of my space where we have worked very hard to get it to the point that we have. We've remodeled it and put a lot of hours and time into making it a beautiful space that matches the theme of this plaza. And now they want to move me because the cannabis dispensaries are willing to pay 3 times the amount of rent. So they want to take up the entire bottom floor of this building from the end all the way over to Finch Restaurant. Finch is a family, restaurant, and we are a family-oriented salon. We have children coming in and out, and customers all day from Bear Creek, La Cresta, Menifee, Wildemar, Lake Elsinore, Murrieta, Temecula, all types of residents. And the majority of what I hear is they're not for it, and they don't want to see an armed security guard when they're coming in to get their hair done. So I just would like you guys to think about possibly keeping it in the industrial area, away from family businesses, because it's really going to put a damper on my business and possibly put me out of business. So I would just like you guys to consider putting it elsewhere. I'm not against cannabis. I just don't want it. I don't think that it's appropriate for this space. Thank you.
Thank you, Lacey.
Next speaker is Brianna.
Hi, Brianna, can you hear me?
Hi, yes, Mr. Nigamair, how are you?
Very good. Thank you. We can hear you. So please proceed with your comments.
I just wanted to say thank you for your time first, everybody. And I've been hearing some really good points that I do agree with and, disagree with as a citizen of Wildemar. But my name is Brianna Plegman, and I am the owner of Wandering Wildflower Salon and Studio. So I am a small business owner here in Wildemar, but I'm also a young mom. And I just kind of wanted to give my viewpoint as my own personal opinion on cannabis. I do use it. I am a recreational user, but I also use it medicinally. And it has completely gotten me off of 3 other different type of medications for depression and anxiety. And it has helped with epidural pain and back pain and things like that. So as a citizen who uses it, I wanted to just have you guys keep in mind that there are a lot of medicinal uses for it. It's not, people, lowlifes just going in and wanting to get high all the time. I do agree with the last person, the owner of the color parlor, where, it doesn't have to be in regular shopping centers. It can be in commercial areas. I think what the issue is everybody has to drive so far to be even able to get this medicinal cannabis that, we have to drive to other cities and then they're getting our revenue. It would be nice to have revenue be going back into our city. And the reason that they're offering to pay 3 times the amount of rent is because that they don't have anywhere to go. So if they had somewhere to set up and have their shops and their businesses, they wouldn't be having to offer 3 times the amount of rent because they would already have an established location and nobody would get moved out.
Thank you, Bree, for your comments.
Next speaker is Veronica Langworthy.
Hi, Veronica. Can you hear me?
Hi, yes, I can. I really enjoyed coffee with the mayor yesterday and really appreciated that there were 3 email pushes about that and also a link that was sent to my husband when he signed up for it. Getting online with Zoom is very frustrating, especially when you have to drill down into the city of Wildemar, city council, agenda, open the right agenda packet and find the link there. So it is very difficult to get to this meeting. And then as I'm speaking to you, I see a few faces, the council people and city staff, and I am represented by a black sign with my name written on it. So, you may be hearing my voice, but I know there are a lot of people that had difficulty connecting or were not able to connect tonight. So the County of Riverside allowed the public to enter the meeting room, speak face to face with the elected officials and have their voice heard. Councilmember Swanson recommended a vote of the people, yes, no, to have their voice heard on this issue. During this COVID-19 pandemic, when civil rights are being restricted, there should not be an arbitrary distancing that silences the public. This is a social justice, environmental justice issue. Low-income and minority communities are often more likely to have less political power. Communities with less political power are less likely to have their voices heard.
Hey, Veronica, are you talking cannabis right now or Zoom meeting format?
Say again?
Are you talking cannabis right now or
I am talking about, because you're not hearing us for this cannabis issue. Marcia had asked that there be a yes vote of the people because you disregarded the survey of 2017, even though there was a general topic. Do you want your neighbor to, whoever get busted for carrying around a joint with them? Well, no, we're nice people. We don't want that. But do we want it in our backyard? 2017 survey said, people of Wildemar said, no, thank you. And yet 2 of the councilmen whose districts were opposed to it have moved forward with this. So I don't think they're hearing the voices of their constituents. And then I don't mean to be contentious. I am just very concerned that our voices are not being heard and that we are being marginalized, and then if this is so great and everything, why was $336,440 budgeted for the district attorney's cannabis regulation task force? Well, they have good reason. The DAs have a good reason for that CRTF because the cannabis businesses need to be protected from illegal businesses. So they have this cost. And that's a lot. And then the city's saying that, this assumption of that cost
Veronica.
will be spread over 10 businesses that are viable and earning enough in sales to cover that expense.
Thank you for your comments.
Tax revenue.
Thank you.
Next speaker is Matthew.
Hi, Matthew. Can you hear me?
I can. Thank you. I've heard a lot of concern here tonight, about, having cannabis in the community. And as someone who has followed the industry's growth, especially here in the state of California, I think that citizens and all of us should be aware that, cannabis is already there in the community. Temecula is a place well known for unregulated cannabis sales. It's already legalized in your neighbor up in Lake Elsinore. I think that it would be a shame for Wildemar to miss out on the opportunity to, generate revenue from something that is already being sold there locally and in the community, whether you want it to or not. And if there are concerns about safety and, those kind of concerns, I think, do a little bit of research. I encourage everyone that has these concerns to do a little bit of research, because there are a good amount of studies out there where you can find statistics showing, that the additional security guards, 24/7 security guards, the additional surveillance cameras, the cooperation with the police due to state regulations, it tends to actually, increase business for the surrounding businesses, as well as, provide an extra layer of safety in some respects. And the statistics would tend to prove that. So I just encourage everyone to have an open mind, and, if it's going to be there, you might as well be able to control it and have, your say as to how it is regulated. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments, Matt.
There are no other speakers.
Okay, before we close this piece of it, I'm going to remind everyone, if you would like to speak, to please hit *9 on your phone if you're calling in, or hit the raise hand button on the web app or smartphone application. I remember that, yeah. Hey, Veronica, can you hear me?
Yes, Greg would like to speak. We're sharing a device.
Okay, yeah, and he was donated time. Can you put him on? And
Thank you.
yeah.
Thank you, Dustin.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, I've got 6 minutes. I'll try to time myself here so I don't go over.
I'll raise my hand at the minute mark, all right? So.
Yeah, we can't see you though. Oh, now I can see you. I can finally see you. All right. Okay, I'm going to start now.
Okay.
Before continuing down this road towards allowing commercial cannabis in our city, I want to encourage you guys to consider 2 warning signs. One warning sign says sheriff, and the other one says survey. At the last meeting, Joseph said, quote, "If I even for a second thought I was inviting a bad element into town, increasing crime, I would have nothing to do with this process," which I appreciated Joseph saying. But during this process, the council has missed Sheriff Bianco's warning that the ordinance will bring a bad element into Wildemar. So Ben, Dustin, and Joseph, I wish I could see you face to face, but I can't. You guys support the ordinance because you believe legalization will help solve the cannabis black market problem in our city, which is a problem. However, Sheriff Bianco says that such ordinances, like the one we've got here, will make the problem worse. And in February this year, I texted him or emailed him and asked him that question about the effects of legal dispensaries. And he responded to me and said, drug dealers, this is a quote, drug dealers, marijuana dealers bring their black market sales near legal marijuana dispensaries to provide a cheaper marijuana for the consumer. The black market sale of marijuana is also associated with crimes such as theft, robbery, burglary, assault, and homicide, end quote. That's what he said. So, Dustin, you've said many times that the arguments on both sides of this issue are confusing. And I may agree with that. But the sheriff knows this subject. He knows about the consequences of legal marijuana ordinances. This is his business, his bailiwick, so to speak. But have you or anyone on the council spoken directly to him and asked for his input? And I don't think that that has happened. So I believe all the council members would agree that for a cannabis business to make money, it's got to encourage people to use their product, right? Every business does that. Illegal businesses would then have a financial reason to come to Wildemar to undercut the prices and take away the customers and their profit. And that's why you have the Cannabis Regulation Task Force at a cost of over $300,000 to the city every year to protect the legal businesses from the illegal ones. And this is exactly what Sheriff Bianco predicted would happen. Legal attracts illegal. That's a problem. So if the sheriff is correct, the ordinance will make the problem worse. More people in Wildemar will be encouraged to use marijuana, and illegal businesses will bring their bad element, as the sheriff said, to the city. And I know none of you want that to happen because you've all said that. So I encourage you to take the time to talk with Sheriff Bianco. He is willing to speak to the council, and this is the first reason I think you should slow down. The second warning sign is that 3 of you guys have dismissed the results of the 2017 survey, which concluded that a majority of Wildemar residents oppose cannabis businesses within city limits. Instead, in the ordinance, you put, whereas a majority of voters in Wildemar voted on Prop 64 at the November election, and you took that as, well, the majority in the city want it. But that's not what the survey said, and that was really misleading. The survey asked residents specifically about Wildemar, not California as a whole. And while a majority in Wildemar voted for cannabis businesses in California, a majority also voted not to have cannabis city businesses in our city. So including the Prop 64 results about California and not Wildemar, that was misleading. However, what it does make clear is that you guys understand that what a majority of Wildemar residents think about cannabis in our city is an essential consideration, or you wouldn't have stuck that in the ordinance. So I think we all agree the council needs to listen to the opinions and values of the majority in Wildemar. And that kind of leads me to my two suggestions. So Dustin, you're the mayor at this point in Wildemar's history, so you've got the job of trying to unify the city in the midst of another contentious debate over marijuana. We already had one in 2010, we got another one now. So I think these two suggestions would be helpful. First, invite Sheriff Bianco to come speak to the council. I don't think that's ever happened, and he's willing to do it. Does he still believe that allowing legal cannabis businesses will attract more illegal businesses, along with the bad element that none of you want? It's not too late for due diligence. Now's the time to get his input while reviewing the ordinance. Of course, the ordinance is only 243 pages, so this shouldn't take too long. Second, allow the residents to vote as Marcia has proposed. A simple yes or no to the idea of allowing cannabis businesses in Wildemar, not tied to specific language like Ben's concerned about. If the 2017 survey was flawed, as you and Ben and Joseph maintain, your position will be proven by the vote. And Wildemar residents, whether or not they agree with the outcome, will at least know they have the freedom and opportunity to choose the direction of our city. If you don't allow a vote, it will appear that the three of you have changed the culture and direction of the city on your own without considering the majority of those in Wildemar. So that's it, and thanks for your time.
Thank you for your comments, Greg, and you were right on the dot with 6 minutes.
Yeah, I practiced all day.
Thank you for your comments.
Yep.
Janna, are there any other comments? Hey, Gina, I see your hand is raised again.
To have Ruben's 3 minutes, since the Langworthy's gotten all kinds of minutes from everybody, and address some of the comments that were made tonight on Ruben's 3 minutes, please.
I'm fine with that. Tom, can you shake your head yes or no? Okay, cool. We're good.
Okay, as far as the lease with the business owner, business owners have leases, and they have laws to protect those leases. Property owners that lease their property can't just pull the rug right out under them legally, without a valid reason to void a lease. Wildemar, the second thing, Wildemar is unique. We cannot be disallowing retail, commercial, manufacturing, and pigeonhole cannabis in any of those things. We're too small, we'll never get bigger. And let me remind the people that the barn, that Finch restaurant used to be a liquor store, and there always was a hairdresser store right next to it. So here again, we're vilifying and prejudicing an industry that should not be. As far as the survey, that survey was flawed and biased. 900 people out of a population of 33,000 people. The council that was there during that time should have had the leadership to put it on the ballot then with the sales tax issue and let the people vote it then. But they were political. They wanted to stand by that flawed survey, and they should have put it on the ballot back in 2016 or whenever they put that on the penny sales tax and given us a choice. Do you want a sales tax or do you want cannabis retail? Now you want to do that now? We have been spending money on cannabis for the last 10 years. I want to commend the leadership of Ben, Dustin, and Joseph for showing leadership and moving forward in an industry that is like any other. If you want to ban cannabis, and why don't you ban tobacco and alcohol at the same time? These people don't have problems with children walking down rows of alcohol and booze, cigarettes. So step up to the 21st century. Please pass this resolution, make this law, and pass this vote. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments, Gina. Hey, Andy, I see your hand is raised again. I assume.
Hi, Ben. This is Heidi Morris. I'm donating my 3 minutes to Andy Morris.
Okay, thank you. Hey, Andy.
Hey, I just wanted to follow up on a comment that I made about the barn and about the rent issue. Okay. And then Gina just made a comment about it too, but I wanted to follow up on that and just get a little more in depth in that. Because when you rent, yes, we can't determine what our landlord's going to put in, so they could put in whatever they want next to us. I totally agree with that. And we're not disagreeing with the fact that you guys should approve cannabis in our area. What I don't agree with, and the smell test just isn't there, is that we need to look at a little bit more that if a business is going to uproot somebody who's taken the time, like the color parlor, to spend the money, that's not normal. That's not right. And I don't blame the owner. I get it. He's losing money on the building. I totally get that. But it just doesn't pass the smell test to me, or the fair test. And the thing is, that's why we're a city, is we get to choose whether or not we want to do things the way we want to do them. And I'm just saying, that really wasn't looked at. And paying 3 times somebody's rent, well, who's next? What business is next? The Bean? How'd you guys feel about the Bean saying, oh, they want my space too, we're going to go back to Temecula, we're going to open up in Murrieta, a store. How would we all feel about that? Everybody loves that place, especially the police officers around here. They're there all day. So I'm just saying, something's just not right about that. And that's why this doesn't pass the smell test. For right now, go ahead and approve the ordinance as is, with minusing out retail or commercial until we see how this all plays out. And they'll still be here in the city. We'll still get our revenue and our money. But we don't have that much retail here to give up as it is. So in this time, it's not, we didn't get to see this before, but luckily it reared its head a little bit. And we get to see sort of how that plays out. And I don't think it's fair. Thank you.
Thank you, Andy.
Next speaker is Janna.
Hi, Janna. Can you hear me? Janna? Is she unmuted? We'll give it a few seconds. Janna? Okay. Okay, there's another speaker, so I'll come back to Janna and see if we can get that worked out.
She's actually unmuted.
I think I heard her.
Janna, can you hear me?
Hi, can I give my 3 minutes to Lacey?
Sure. Hi, Lacey, can you hear me?
1 second.
Which one is Lacey? Is she Lacey? You need to raise your hand so we can see you in the list.
She's the owner of the color parlor.
I think it's Lacey Rowe. Yeah.
She was on earlier.
Hey, Janna, I think she might have jumped off.
Let me see.
Okay. Do we have any other speakers?
Can you hear me?
I can.
Yes.
Okay. Yes, we're in the same building and my other phone died.
Oh, okay. Hello.
I just wanted to comment on about the lease. Yes, although I do have a lease, and you would think, that there's not much to be done about that. But like I said, when someone is willing to pay 3 times the normal amount of rent, then you have a landlord willing to do almost anything to get me out or to move me. And although it's not like I would get kicked completely out of this space, I have spent the last year spending all my hours in here working to make this place beautiful and put a lot of money and time into it. So he may not kick me out of the entire center, but he wants to move me. And that means knocking down these walls and everything in it that we put all our time into building. So that's where I have a problem, that it's going to you know, because they're willing to take up so much space, they want a very, very large space, and they're willing to pay 3 times, it makes a landlord willing to do almost anything for that money. And I just don't think that's right as a business owner to do that. So that's all I wanted to say.
Thank you, Lacey, for your comments. Any other speakers?
Yes, next speaker is Brenda.
Hi, Brenda.
Hello. Thank you for taking the time to hear what I have to say. I'm the founder and president of Grace Christian School of Wildemar.
Hey, Brenda, can you speak a little more directly into the phone? You're hard to hear.
Okay. Is that any better?
No.
Nope, not at all. Oh.
I think you sound a little better now.
How to make it any louder.
There we go. That's perfect.
Oh, okay.
Perfect.
Good. I am the founder and president of Grace Christian School of Wildemar. And I attended last month's meeting where it was established that the businesses of cannabis would be restricted from 600 feet away from schools. And that's good for me, but also as we grow, we're running into scenarios where there was a place today that was presented to me for we could move and grow, but because there is a cannabis dealer that wants the same place, that restricts where we can go as a school. And that's difficult for us. And so I, besides just being generally opposed to the cannabis, I would also like to just go for and have my comments regarding that we would go to the public for the vote, because I believe most of Wildemar is not in favor of the cannabis. And thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Brenda.
There are no other speakers.
Okay, thank you to all the speakers that took the time to call in to voice your concerns, opinions, both in favor and opposition of. I will now close that piece of the item.